On August 5, 2025, after 35 long years on death row, Byron Lewis Black met his end by lethal injection in a Tennessee prison. But what led this man from a troubled childhood to becoming one of the state's most notorious killers? In this video, we'll dive deep into Byron Black's life, the horrifying crimes that shocked Nashville his chilling last meal, and the final words or lack thereof that left witnesses stunned. Stick around till the end, because we'll uncover the medical twist that almost turned his execution into a nightmare of man versus machine. And I'll ask you, was justice truly served? Hit that like button if you're ready to unpack this dark story, and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of prisoners and the crimes that defined them. Let's start at the beginning with the man behind the monster. Byron Lewis Black was born on March 23, 1956 in Nashville, Tennessee, into a world that seemed stacked against him from day one. His early life was marred by invisible scars that would shape his future in tragic ways. Doctors later revealed that Byron had been exposed to alcohol in the womb. His mother struggled with drinking during pregnancy, and after birth he faced environmental poisons like lead in the air and water of his low-income neighborhood. These toxins targeted his developing brain, damaging the frontal and temporal lobes, the very parts responsible for impulse control, memory, and decision-making. As a child, Byron struggled in ways that set him apart. Simple games like red light, green light baffled him. He couldn't grasp the rules or follow along with other kids. School was a nightmare. He lagged behind in reading, math, and basic comprehension. Testing would later show his intellectual functioning was in the bottom 2% of people his age with similar education. He couldn't handle everyday tasks. Even as an adult, he couldn't make change for a $5 bill or live independently. Byron never moved out of his parents' home, staying there until his arrest at age 32. He married once and had a child, but his life remained dependent and chaotic. By his 20s, Byron's disabilities manifested in erratic behavior. He held menial jobs but couldn't keep them long. His relationships were turbulent, marked by jealousy and violence. Experts diagnosed him with intellectual disability schizophrenia and later dementia as he aged on death row. Half a dozen psychiatrists agreed Byron functioned at a level so low that only 1 in 10,000 people matched it. But these challenges didn't excuse what came next. They perhaps explained the fuse that led to explosion. Fast forward to 1986, when Byron's violent tendencies first erupted publicly. At 30 years old, he was entangled in a messy love triangle with Angela Clay, a 29-year-old hospital worker, and her estranged husband, Benny Clay. Angela and Benny had separated a year earlier, but shared 2 daughters, 9-year-old Latoya and 6-year-old Lakeisha. Benny hoped to reconcile, but Angela had started seeing Byron on and off. The tension simmered until December 1986, when an argument between Byron and Benny turned deadly. It started as a heated exchange outside Angela's home. Benny walked away toward his car, thinking it was over. But Byron pulled out a revolver and opened fire. The first shot hit Benny's car, the second tore through his foot, and the third lodged in his shoulder near the collarbone. Benny ran, but Byron chased him down the street, firing more rounds. Benny collapsed, bleeding out, with Byron standing over him, gun raised for the kill shot. That's when Angela intervened, shoving Byron away and saving Benny's life. Byron was arrested, pleaded guilty to assault with a deadly weapon, and was sentenced to a workhouse term, a lenient program that allowed weekend furloughs. It was meant for low-risk offenders, but for Byron, it became a license to kill. That privilege would haunt Tennessee forever, as it set the stage for one of the most brutal crimes in the state's history. Now, let's turn to that fateful weekend in March 1988. Byron, then 32, checked out of the workhouse on Friday, March 25th at 5:30 p.m. for his routine furlough. He seemed like any other inmate, enjoying a brief taste of freedom. By Monday evening, just after 5 p.m., he returned calmly as if the weekend had been uneventful. But in those 72 hours, Byron had unleashed hell, claiming 3 innocent lives in a cold-blooded rampage. It all centered on Angela Clay, who was trying to break free from her toxic relationship with Byron. She worked long shifts at Vanderbilt Hospital, raising her daughters alone after her split from Benny. On Sunday, March 27th, Angela finished her shift around 10 p.m. Her sister, Lynette Bell Byron's on-and-off girlfriend, picked her up with Byron tagging along unexpectedly. They drove to their mother, Amelia Bell's house, where Byron dropped off Angela and the girls. He left without much fanfare, but rage was brewing inside him. Angela chatted with her family a bit longer, borrowed an iron from her mom, and promised to return it the next day. Round 11 p.m., she headed home to her modest apartment, tucking LaToya and Lakeisha into bed before turning in herself. The family felt safe, doors locked, world quiet. But sometime after midnight, Byron returned, slipping into the apartment undetected, no forced entry, suggesting he had a key or knew how to get in quietly. In the master bedroom, Angela lay asleep on her side, peaceful under the covers. Byron approached without a word, raised his revolver, and fired a single shot into the top of her head. She died instantly, never waking, never knowing her end. But the gunshot stirred LaToya sleeping beside her mother. She rustled slightly, maybe a gasp, maybe just a shift in sleep. It was enough to seal her fate. Byron turned back, aimed, and shot her through the chest and neck. The impact wedged her body between the bed and dresser, blood soaking her pillow. Autopsies later showed she didn't die right away. Her body twitched in agony for up to 10 minutes. Byron could have stopped, but he didn't. Fearing witnesses, he walked down the hall to Lakeisha's room. The 6-year-old had woken from the noise and stood by her bed, perhaps confused, but recognizing Byron as a familiar face, maybe even expecting comfort. Instead, he fired twice, once in her chest, once near her hip. She collapsed, dragging herself across the floor, leaving bloody handprints on the bedframe and carpet. Like her sister, she lingered in pain, dying face down beside her bed after up to 30 minutes of suffering. With the apartment silent again, Byron calmly locked the door and vanished into the night. He returned to the workhouse on schedule, composure intact. No one suspected the horror he'd left behind. The bodies weren't discovered until Tuesday, March 29th. Amelia grew worried when Angela didn't return the iron or answer calls. Her car was parked outside Shade's Drawn house, eerily quiet. Amelia and Lynette went over that evening, knocking frantically with no response. They called the police, who arrived around 9:30 p.m. Officers pried open a window and shone a flashlight inside, revealing Lakeisha's tiny body on the floor, blood everywhere. Inside, the scene was gruesome. Angela dead in bed, LaToya jammed beside it, Lakeisha face down in a pool of her own blood. Forensics teams swarmed, recovering bullet fragments from walls, pillows, and mattresses. A bizarre detail emerged. The kitchen phone receiver was in the master bedroom, its base in the hallway perhaps moved during a frantic call attempt that never connected. 3 fingerprints on the phones matched Byron Black. Ballistics linked the bullets to the same gun used in the 1986 shooting of Benny Clay. Investigators had Benny undergo surgery to remove the lodged bullet from his shoulder. It matched perfectly. Angela's family painted a picture of abuse. Byron had kicked in her door months earlier, threatened, "If I can't have you, nobody will," and argued publicly with her just weeks before. Neighbors heard constant fights. When police questioned Byron at the workhouse, he initially broke down crying upon hearing of the deaths, but clammed up when more officers arrived. He claimed an alibi, dropping Angela off at 10 p.m. Dinner with a friend until 11:30, then home to his mom's. But the friend, Charlotte Walden, contradicted him. He left by 9:30 p.m., leaving a 2-hour window for the murders. Confronted again with his lawyer, Byron changed his story. He visited later, found the door open, discovered the bodies, panicked, locked up, and left without calling anyone. "I didn't want to get involved," he said. At trial in 1989, his defense relied on the alibi from his mother and nephew, claiming he was home by 11 p.m., but the jury saw through it. On March 8th, Lakeisha's would-be birthday, they convicted him of 3 counts of first-degree murder. The next day, sentencing death for Lakeisha's murder, 2 life terms for Angela and LaToya, plus extras for burglary and weapons. Justice felt swift, but appeals dragged on for decades. Byron's lawyers fought hard, arguing intellectual disability made him ineligible for execution under modern laws. They highlighted his fetal alcohol exposure led poisoning, low IQ, and inability to function independently. Even the state's expert recanted, agreeing he met disability criteria. As Byron aged to 69, dementia worsened his condition, but courts disagreed. In 2022, a judge ruled him competent, upheld in 2023. The pandemic and moratoriums delayed things, but in March 2025, the Tennessee Supreme Court set the date, August 5th, one last hurdle. In May 2024, Byron got an implantable defibrillator for heart failure. Lawyers argued it must be deactivated. Lethal injection could trigger shocks, prolonging death painfully, like being kicked by a horse. A lower court agreed, but the Supreme Court overturned it, saying shocks wouldn't be felt and couldn't delay justice. The night before Byron's last meal, pizza with mushrooms and sausage donuts and butter pecan ice cream, a simple, comforting choice for a man facing the end. On execution day, he entered the chamber strapped to a gurney curtain rising at 10:31 a.m. A sheet covered him unusually high, hiding his hands. Asked for last words, he said only, "No, sir." No apology to the victim's family watching nearby. Witnesses noted his distress, heavy breathing, restlessness, confusion, as if his disabled mind couldn't comprehend. His spiritual advisor touched his cheek, prayed, and urged calm breathing. As drugs flowed at 10:33, Byron panted, raised his head, groaned. "I can't do this," he whispered. "This is hurting so bad." The advisor replied, "I'm so sorry," continuing prayers. He raised his hand once more, then stilled at 10:36. After a 5-minute wait, he was pronounced dead at 10:43, age 69. Byron Black's story is a tangled web of tragedy, disability, and unforgivable violence. His life highlights failures in the system, from lenient furloughs to executing the intellectually disabled. But for Angela, LaToya, and Lakeisha, it was pure evil. What do you think? Did Tennessee serve justice, or should his disabilities have spared him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story gripped you, like, share, and subscribe for more prisoner profiles and crime breakdowns. Until next time, stay safe out there.